tragic day in Webster's Industrial Park when a man was apparently electrocuted. The man was reportedly on the roof of a building in that commercial district.
Police say it was around 10:42 when building contractor 67-year-old Trevor Craig and a colleague were on the roof taking measurements. The building is reportedly a warehouse owned by Marshall Trading. Craig of Dodson Land, Black Rock St. Michael, was with a colleague who did not want to be identified. He said he saw a flash of light, heard an explosion, and saw his friend of more than 20 years collapse. He reportedly escaped injury by jumping off the building. Police Public Relations Officer Acting Assistant Superintendent David Welch said a team of fire officers was in the area and responded immediately to the situation. At the time of the incident, the two men were in close proximity to high-tension wires, carrying an estimated 24,000 volts of electricity.
From preliminary investigations, which are still ongoing, it is believed that he was working on a building at the time when he lost his life. We are yet to determine the cause of death.
Scores of onlookers converged in the area, as well as representatives of Williams Industries, including owner Ralph Busy Williams and representatives from Marshall Trading. Representatives from Barbados Light and Power were also on the scene and ensured safety was maintained after power was cut to the area. Distraught family members came later. Craig's body was removed from the building just before 5. Dale Ford for CBC News.
Well, the Barbados Light and Power Company issued a statement this evening expressing heartfelt sympathy to the family, friends and colleagues of the deceased. The company said its safety personnel and crew responded to reports of an incident at Marshall Trading just before 11 this morning. As a result, crew de-energized transmission lines in the area at the request of the Barbados Fire Service to permit an investigation. This resulted in a power outage to the areas of Wildy, Upper Colombo Rock and sections of the Pine. Electrical power was restored just before midday to the areas, with the exception of the immediate area where the incident occurred. Light and Power says it continues to work with the authorities from the fire service and the police force to probe the incident. Well, don't expect any changes to the Frendel Stewart administration just yet. Despite growing rumors, the Prime Minister says there are no plans on the cards for a cabinet reshuffle. His comments came while speaking to the media at a function at Kendall Plantation in St. John after he unveiled a monument in honor of 17th century slave Yariko. The Prime Minister insists his administration is undertaking its work and says when it is time for the government to be restructured, the public will be told. Meanwhile, we are hearing that Barbados could cash in from added exposure through the hosting of a play about the 17th century slave Yariko. That play will be staged in a couple of months in the UK. Behind that production is Jack Kidd, who has sought to keep the story of Yariko and Inkle alive. According to the story, Yariko, the Amerindian woman, fell in love with Inkle. She, however, was later sold as a slave and worked at the Kendall Plantation in St. John. Minister of Culture Stephen Lashley believes that the unveiling of the monument is an added plus for that parish. He thinks people after viewing the play would want to visit Barbados.
The significance of this monument takes us past the dark history of slavery, the resilience of our people and the empowerment gained over time as we became proud of self and proud of identity. It speaks to the value of heritage and how it can contribute to economic development. As you may be aware, culture is one of the identified pillars on which the modern Barbados economy is being constructed. The presence of monuments such as the one celebrated this morning adds to the attractiveness of the Barbados heritage story and entices visitors in that market segment to our shores.
Mr. Lashley says government is moving in the right direction as it develops Barbados cultural industries.
I speak here to the passing of the Cultural Industries Development Act, which will be proclaimed on February 1st this year. All of the tenets of this legislation will be activated, and artists, cultural workers, and those investing in the cultural projects of Barbados stand to benefit from the offerings facilitated by the legislation, by way of the various incentives contained therein.
St. Vincent and the Grenadines Prime Minister, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, will deliver this year's Errol Barrow Memorial Lecture. His lecture is titled Errol Barrow, Our Caribbean Civilization and the Idea of Barbados. The event will be held tomorrow night at the Walcott Warner Theatre at the University of the West Indies Errol Barrow Centre for Creative Imagination. It starts at 7. Barbadian pop star Rihanna has won a legal battle against Topshop, a high street store in the UK, over a T-shirt bearing her image. The Court of Appeal in London upheld a ban on the store selling a sleeveless T-shirt featuring a photo of the star without obtaining her permission. In the first successful celebrity case of its kind, 3 appeal judges agreed marketing the item without Rihanna's approval amounted to passing off. Passing off refers to the unauthorized use of a personal image. The star sued Topshop's parent company Arcadia for $5 million in 2013 over the T-shirts, which featured a photo taken during a video shoot in 2011. In a ruling in July 2013, a judge found that some buyers would have been deceived into buying the shirt because of a false belief it had been approved by the singer. He said it was damaging to her goodwill and represented a loss of control over Rihanna's reputation in the fashion sphere. A St. Joseph man is in stable condition at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital after sustaining multiple gunshot wounds in a shooting incident yesterday. 25-year-old Sherland Cumberbatch of Joes River was reportedly shot sometime around 4:15 in the afternoon near his home. The police believe the shooting was the result of an earlier dispute in which Cumberbatch was involved. An elderly Christchurch man is the island's latest road fatality. 76-year-old Dennis Wentworth Linton of Barracks Hill died in an accident at around 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon at the junction of Bennett's and Sandy Lane Roads in St. James. The deceased was the driver of a motor car which collided with a truck driven by 51-year-old James Boyce of Kingsland, Christchurch. The Barbados Fire Service was called in to assist after Wentworth Linton was reportedly trapped in his car. He received lacerations to his head, right shoulder and back. He was taken to the hospital by ambulance where he later died. The Barbados Cancer Society's efforts to treat and raise awareness of cancers affecting men, particularly prostate cancer, have been further boosted through a donation from the British High Commissioner. $4,500 was raised through various fundraising ventures, and British High Commissioner Victoria Dean made the presentation to the Cancer Society on Tuesday. The month of November, dubbed Movember, saw men growing their mustaches and even some women donning fake mustaches to support the fundraising effort.
My colleagues do all sorts of things. Several of them grow rather uncomfortable moustaches for the whole of the month and end up looking a little bit unusual, to say the least. We also held a raffle and an auction and collected money on board HMS Iron Duke, the British Royal Navy ship, when it was here visiting in November. We're delighted to be able to hand over the money today. For us this year it was particularly important because we have a very dear friend and colleague here in the High Commission who is a survivor of prostate cancer, and seeing him come back to us and be back at work and hearing his story, I think has made us all realise how important it is to raise awareness.
Well, President of the Barbados Cancer Society, Dr. Dorothy Cook-Johnson, described the Movember drive as a success. She says prostate cancer kills over 100 men yearly.
Twice that of breast cancer and colon cancer, and 5 times that of cervix cancer. So we really have to put a lot of effort into it. Men are well advised. We have the machine there as technological backup now for anyone who is referred to the QEH, so that they can have biopsies and it can be checked at the lab to see whether there is any sign of cancer, and then the grade can be established and the treatment mode can be determined precisely.
We'll have more news after this break, but first we'd like to get your take on this question. Should it be mandatory for men 40 years and over to be tested for prostate cancer? Text yes or no to the short code 8111. Those results are coming up at the end of the news.
Dear Clark, I've made a fascinating discovery. The institutional water cooler. Its gravitational pull sucks people from their workstations at the busiest times of day to stand around it and chat about emerging global trends like, will pink be in fashion next season? Meanwhile, the world slows to a stop as it waits in line to be served. I don't see that trend at Globe Finance.
Globe Finance. Think outside the bank.
When it comes to their financial service, slow is out, swift is in.
Win a cruise this year with Byco. Just spend $10 on any Byco product and claim a scratch card. You could win 2 7-day Carnival cruises, courtesy of Foster & Ince, and 2 dinner cruises from Black Pearl Party Cruises, or one of 501 liters of Byco ice cream and 1,000 Byco bandanas. See press for a list of participating outlets or call Byco at 430-2100.
The Barbados Union of Teachers is giving the Ministry of Education more time to thrash out issues at the Alma Paris and Parkinson secondary schools. BUT President Pedro Shepherd tells CBC News the union is holding off any protest action for now as investigations continue at both schools. He explains that this was one of the decisions taken at the union's executive meeting held on Tuesday.
We would have discussed the situation with the 2 schools, Alma Paris and Parkinson. We had correspondence from the ministry on both situations, and we are satisfied at this stage that something is being done, and the executive has taken the decision that teachers would return to school as normal. We are going to meet with the members of both schools early next week to discuss the latest situation in relation to where we are going.
The Deputy Governor of the Delta State in Nigeria has spoken publicly on the matter involving the 90 visiting Nigerian students. Professor Amos Utuama says the program is on course despite some teething problems. He expressed his disappointment at the students going to the press to vent their frustrations.
As a government, we send them here. If there are issues they are not satisfied with, I expect them to get in touch with us. Then we'll get in touch with Donald and Hill, with whom we had a contract. He's the only person we had a contract with respect to this program, and not any other person. Any other person hovering around is a meddlesome interloper. I have no business, a stranger. So if there are issues concerned with this program, which the students feel badly about, they should get in touch with us and not with a lawyer or anybody at the first port of call. If there's need for a lawyer, we will brief the lawyer. The government will brief lawyer, not students.
Well, with regard to reports of missing funds, Professor Utuama says there is nothing to indicate that funds have disappeared.
We learned in the paper that money was missing. Well, as far as we are concerned, we just presume that no money is missing until she is unable to perform any aspect of contractual responsibility due to lack of money, because we are paid for the services. If the time comes, the school fees of the student cannot be paid, and she comes to tell us one story or the other, and we demand the money, and she fails to give the money back to us or refund the money or pay the school fees, then we know money is missing.
The opposition has called for it, and now a former government minister, though welcoming the idea of a creation of an eminent persons group to help rescue Barbados, wants to see grassroots people included in the mix. Former St. Michael's Southeast MP Hamilton Lashley believes rescuing Barbados should not be left up to a special group. He wants to see the inclusion of community practitioners, NGO leaders, and ordinary people.
This eminent group of persons cannot be a special privilege reserved for politicians, sirs and dames, doctors and lawyers and lecturers and economists, who, in my view, in some aspect, will have contributed to this to the situation that we are in by their lack of serious participation in the communities across Barbados. And I'm saying also that they cannot stand in their ivory towers and look down and believe that only this group of people have the solutions and the answers for Barbados.
The geriatric hospital will now be able to conduct meetings in comfort. This comment from consultant doctor and representative from the geriatric hospital, Dr. Ambrose Ramsey. He was speaking at a donation of 25 chairs to the geriatric hospital from the Association of Friends of the Geriatric Hospital.
The chairs that we've used in the past were not ours. We would have to bring chairs in if we have a meeting. We would have to rent chairs. We would have to borrow chairs from within other places within the Ministry of Health or other organizations. But this number here would really assist in helping us to have our meetings whenever we want, without having the stress of trying to locate chairs to sit on.
Treasurer of the association, Orlando Aline, says the act of kindness is demonstration of the interest shown in the nursing staff and patients of the hospital. He'd like to see more members of the public, especially relatives of patients, join the organization.
We have enjoyed a very good relationship with the staff at the hospital over the years, and we are looking forward to continuing that effort. And of course, we are also very welcome of persons who come and willing to join the association, because there's some of us who probably wouldn't be around much longer, but we are always welcoming new persons to the association.
Still to come, a look at the major stories across our region, but first a reminder that we'd like to get your take on this question. Should it be mandatory for men 40 years and over to be tested for prostate cancer? Text yes or